Hey, welcome to Computers for the Completely Clueless. I'm Lee Keller.
And I'm Kim Cavanaugh.
And today we're going to talk about the entire planet in your hands.
The whole world. The Earth, as
at
it
your
were.
fingertips.
Yeah, and Lee, this is one of those programs when we started doing these shows a couple years ago. One of the first shows we did was on this application we'll be talking about today. And we got immediate feedback from my neighbors. They said, I caught the show and started playing around with...
People that haven't seen Google Earth,
Google
you go
Earth.
nuts over it. Because it's one of the two best programs I think ever made.
Right. It's really, well, I don't know if I go that far, but it's really, really a wonderful program. And if you're into travel, if you're just curious about the world, if you just want to have fun.
Yeah, it's all fun.
Google Earth is a fabulous program.
Now, this was originally made by a company called Keyhole, which was really interesting because they made this product and then Google bought it. It was an expensive product to use. I used it when it was Keyhole. Had a 2-week free trial, and then it was like $100-some a year.
Right.
Google gives it to us for free.
Right, and they've tied it into all these other things as well. Different video and photo sharing services, programs that let you do 3D models, all sorts of really cool things happening within this Google Earth environment. And for the average consumer, it's just wonderful. Now, you can get professional versions, people who are like surveyors and planners and those sort of folks who might want to buy the professional version that gets really, really high resolution. But what you're able to do in Google Earth is just astounding.
It is amazing.
All right, so let's take a look at our learning objectives for today, what we hope to cover today. And as always, Lee likes to play fast and loose and dangerously and talk about installing the software. I think we're going to skip that part today.
We're going to skip that part, but Google Earth, first thing you want to do is to download it, and the place that you download it, guess?
Google.
Yep, and we'll show them how to do that,
All right.
how to find it. You want to install it. The install is really quick and easy, but sometimes you'll hit some graphics things, and we'll talk about that briefly.
Okay.
Getting started, just how to launch it, what you see at the beginning.
Right.
And then we'll learn to fly.
Oh, man, that's so much fun.
The fly to thing, and then there's places and my places. Lots of cool things. You can find businesses with this thing, and you can even get directions. And the directions give you step-by-step, and they will let you fly the route.
Wow. So we're gonna cover in today's show half an hour on Google Earth, and I think we probably take this into 2 shows because there's so much to look at in Google Earth.
Oh, we're not even getting into the fun stuff
awesome.
yet.
And of course, we'll always have our viewer questions.
Yeah, I had gone fishing here, but
that's actually wrong, but that's okay. And we want to hear from you. If you want to write your questions in, always glad to get them. So, let's talk about Google Earth.
That sounds like a good idea. So let's switch over to this. Now, on our desktop here, if you wanted to get Google Earth, you would have to go to Google first. So we went to Google, and right here under More.
By the way, when we're taping this today, we have that special graphic up there. It's Jackson Pollock's birthday. That's why the Google logo is looking a little bit
strange.
A little bit strange today.
So we're going to click the down arrow, and you see all of these other things that Google offers. But you know what? Down at the bottom,
the very bottom,
even more. We click on that.
That's going to give you a complete listing of all the software and services you can get from Google.
And on the left side here, you see Earth.
Right.
Click on that.
Now, Google also has a bundled package that you can download as well. In our last couple of shows, we've been talking about Picasa, which is the image editor that Google provides.
Yeah, your Google bundle, you customize it, make it whatever you want.
Right, so you can bundle these together and get Picasa and Google Earth at the same time. Notice the 4 letters that we like that start with an F-R-E-E.
This is a
Google
free
Earth
program.
is free.
Now, this is how hard it is to download it. We're not going to download it because we already have it installed. But you click on the download button, and you give it a few seconds, and it comes up, and it says, okay, you agree to the conditions and everything, and you can read those there.
Right.
And you click on agree and download, and it's going to start right away.
Right.
Recommend that you save it to a location and then install it.
Okay.
And the install goes very quickly. It's a very easy
Now,
program.
you mentioned there's some things that might happen during the install you should be aware of?
Yeah, well, it's not so much in the install. It's when you're running it. It's going to check to see what kind of graphics you have.
Right.
And if you don't have a GL card, it's going to ask you to switch to another mode. And it can get a little tricky if your graphics is an older version of graphics or if it's a slower graphics.
Right, so if you have an older computer, say 4 or 5 years old, you might run into some problems installing Google Earth just because your graphics processor in the computer that allows images to display on screen isn't quite up to speed. So if you run into a big stumbling block there, that's going to typically be the problem, is that your computer just doesn't meet the minimum requirements for Google Earth to operate.
Now, once it's installed, excuse me, you can see a couple places.
Yep.
Here I've got it on my desktop.
Yeah, just good old desktop icon. I see the little arrow that tells me it's a shortcut.
Yeah, but I want to show people there are other places you might find it. For example, it might be in your shortcut section at the top of your menu.
Right, that's a good spot
really nice.
for it.
And if you can't find it, under All Programs, you'll find a folder for Google Earth.
Right.
And then you could launch it from right there. So any of those places will find Google Earth for you.
Right.
They all launch the same program, and there's your DirectX and OpenGL modes.
I have no idea what those mean, but we won't bother with those.
You know what? What I always recommend doing is launch it. If you have the wrong mode, Google Earth will prompt you so you can change.
Okay.
Now, when we launch
for the average user, you're just going to be able to launch it. And you'll be prompted to go ahead if you want to put an icon in during installation. They'll put it on the desktop. So it's pretty easy to go ahead and get this all set up.
Now, as many programs do, they give you a tip at the beginning, and this one's on 3D buildings. We'll talk about that maybe next week or the week
but
after.
as most of them do, they also give you a little checkbox there that says, I don't want to see your tips every time I start the program up. So if you uncheck that...
I always want to see the tips.
Do you?
Yeah.
You do pick up some interesting things that you might not otherwise know about.
Especially with new versions, which this is.
All right.
Okay, and then you end up
there
with
we
this
are. Now
beautiful picture of the planet.
There's right. That's the Earth now. So
and that's it. We're done with the show.
Yeah. But, gee, Lee, what if I wanted to see where I am?
Well,
how would we do that? Well, actually, maybe we should go over the interface before we get too far.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
So on the right-hand side of the screen, obviously, we have the representation of the Earth. And then on the left-hand side, you have a menu bar, or I'm not sure exactly what Google calls that.
This is a little bit different because this section here is your different kind of search functions you can do.
Right. So you've got a Fly To tab up there, Find Businesses and Directions. So you can just click on those tabs and move from one function to another.
And on your places, you can keep track of places that you've been to.
Right.
Any place that you go during the current session will be stored in temporary places. And at the end of your session, you'll get prompted
so in other
to
words,
make
if you
it
have a
permanent.
favorite place that you like to go to frequently, or you want to just keep in there because there's something of interest to you, you can actually save that in the program, almost like you would bookmark or create a favorite.
And then you've got layers. We'll talk about those later. There's a lot of really cool stuff
Later
there.
on the layers. All right, very good.
But these little triangles that we call twirls, we can actually twist those a little bit and make more space for us.
I didn't know they were called twirls.
I actually learned that from an Apple thingy.
Yeah.
I forget what program it was. I think it was iTunes.
All right, so lots of normal common interface objects there in Google Earth like you'd see in other applications. And so when we come back from the break, we're going to take a more in-depth look at Google Earth and all the really cool things that you can do.
And we'll learn to fly.
Neat.